glad to be here in the beginning of 2025. And it's going to be live. So we're going to get into it today because this topic, as we talked about before, we're going to talk about it today, is something that we hope everyone who's listening plans on doing because it is so vital to any goals, any financial wealth building, or any type of success that you want to have in your life. So before we get into today's topic, we're going to introduce our co-host, Mr. Clinton James.
What is that?
So before we get into today's topic,
Go ahead, that's me. Go ahead, I'm sorry, y'all.
we have a full guest here. You see it.
Clinton James.
Flow, man. Your flow. Gotta get with it. So yes, my name is Clinton James. I'm your co-host. Yes, definitely want to wish y'all happy 2025. Let's thrive in 2025. We gotta stay alive though. Gotta thrive in 2025. That's a bar. That's a bar.
Okay.
Yeah, pay me later.
You and Shakespeare and Kendrick Lamar.
Pay me later.
And he love.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
Paul couldn't written it better himself.
You off, man. You off today.
Hey, forgive us. It's the first week of the year. He's been going too long.
You got to introduce him because
He's been going too long.
His brother been here so much. He's pretty much a guest host. He is Mr. Dion Westbrook. I'm not gonna say your nickname. Our guest co-host.
Yes.
Introduce yourself, sir.
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? Just happy to be here again. Dion Westbrook, Senior Officer in American Funding. And tonight, we definitely got some great topics to discuss in regards to how to obtain homeownership in 2025.
I'm sitting here looking at me. Why are you looking at me like that? Why are you
I'm like,
introduce him.
Hey,
I'm sorry,
another year going into that senior moments, man.
Hey,
That's senior moments.
I need a vacation. So we're going to get into it today because we're going to talk about home ownership in 2025. You know, it seemed like it was just 2023 and 22. And one of the conversations that you were having, all of us were having with individuals, 22, 23, was, hey, let's start the process of you start becoming a homeowner. And a lot of them felt that the process was too rigorous, too long, or required too much of them. Because we say usually plan out a good 2 years in advance to purchase a home before you actually probably can purchase a home. And I'm not saying 2 years has to be the timeline. Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer. But 2 years gives you a good plan to put in place to become a homeowner. And a lot of times, families take heed to that advice and are close to becoming homeowners in 2025 or bought a home in 2024. A lot of families said, man, that's going to be too much. In 2023, and realize right now it's 2025. And they could have been buying a home this year. So as we start off today's show, I want to just basically ask you guys is, why is it so important to create goals and plan ahead to purchase a home? So let's get into that. Why is it so important to plan and put goals and steps in process?
Yeah, you can go first. You can go first, sir. Yes.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to set goals when it comes to home ownership. For one, you always want to have a plan of attack. If you don't have a plan, you're going to be all over the place. You're
Right.
Scattered. It's going to take you forever. You're going to get frustrated. And like most people, ultimately, you're never ever going to buy. You know,
True.
become a homeowner because it's going to seem, the goal is going to seem unattainable for you.
Right.
So you're going to end up fizzling out.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely want to make sure that you, and so when you can work with a professional in the industry that can help you put together a plan of attack and also stay with you. That's important too. You know, anybody can tell you what to do. You can go on any website and, what's the steps for buying a house? And it'll put out there for you. But to have someone kind of hold your hand through the process while you're working on yourself, if you have to, that's very important too. You want to find somebody that's willing to do those things. So it's just important to make sure that you know what you're doing at the end of the day. You know, what you need to do, how to get there, and have, correct expectations. You don't want to have the type of expectations something's going to happen tomorrow. It may not be that way. Some people might be where you can get pre-approved in 24 hours, but some people might take 24 months. You never know.
Right.
But you have to find out, and that's important, just to know where you stand and have a plan of attack. That's the most important reason why.
What you think, Clinton?
Yeah, I mean, goals are important. Every year, everybody has some goals. Everybody has some puts our goals out there. I mean, I've kind of changed my mindset about what a goal is, you know, and how I strategize and I look at goals, you know, is because at the end of the day, when you reach your goal, it's kind of like people just got to figure out what other goals they got to try to get to. But goals are there to make you better. And that's the thing about every goal. I always tell everybody is like this. It's not about you reaching the goal, it's a process to you doing it, right? Because home ownership has become that kind of goal that's become almost unattainable. I won't say it's unattainable, but I would say it's a big goal now. It's a life goal, right? When I speak with all my clients, I always let them know, hey, there's a life goal. And I'll say, somebody turned me on to this book this year that I just got done reading that kind of like blew my mind about how to strategize with goals and actually accomplish them. It's called The 12-Week Year, and it's by Brian P. Moran. And I think everybody should read that, especially if you're in business, if you have goals. It's kind of breaking down the year into 12 weeks, right? They're still going after goals, but you're breaking it down into 12 weeks so it becomes more manageable. So you can do what you want in a year in 12 weeks because we have the ability to do it. It's just that our mindsets, we have to change our mind exactly away from annual. We always think in annual terms because we've been programmed to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So when we get to the annual goals, it's kind of like you hear the companies say it, you hear leaders say it, you hear the government says it, but at the end of the day, that's just a kind of a construct that we live our lives by, right? You can accomplish any goal you want within the time frame that you want, right? But at the same time, too, you can accomplish goals that might be 2, 3, 4 years, way shorter in the shortest time span than you think. So when it comes to home ownership and setting that goal, I've kind of changed my mindset because I tell everybody a vision without a plan is just a pipe dream, right? So, I mean, if you have a vision of being a homeowner and you don't have a plan to get there, right? You're just dreaming. Just remember that. You're dreaming. If you're dreaming about home ownership or you think that you have a vision to be in a home or be in a real estate investor, you have to set up a plan. And it's that process of the plan that's going to better you because most homeowners are good savers, right? And the statistics actually show that, which we'll get into, which is going to be crazy because the statistics are showing that homeowners are going to be able to be the ones who's going to leverage a bad economy if it's coming. Right, because of the statistics of homeowners are right now, of homeowners, it's crazy. It's blowing my mind because right now you'll find that the economy is being propped up by people who own, and it is, and we'll get a little bit more into that. But yeah, we just to go back to goals here. Everybody has to have a plan. You know, have to set up a plan, sit down with somebody, get a plan ready, and let's get it. Let's go after it. You know.
So let's talk to process about asking what's the first step people should be looking at in 2025 to become a homeowner?
Everybody say, who you talk to first, the realtor or the loan officer?
Which comes first? Check it out
there. You ask me. You already know what I'm going to say. Definitely. But no, I mean, me personally, I definitely do think that some of the first people you should definitely talk to, I mean, realistically, it could be any of us, whether it's a loan officer, it's a realtor, it's a HUD counseling group, you know, anything along those lines where they can give you some basic information that will get you to a starting point to where you can actually build from there. So, but me personally, I'm a loan officer, so I'm always going to say you can come talk to me because I'm going to be the person that's going to get you the money for someone that needs financing. So we'll go through like the pre-approval process. We'll talk about what documents you need. We'll go over your credit. We'll go over what your potential options are. We'll go over if we need to work on something, what steps to take to get you there, whether it be credit related or it be income related, if it be budgeting related, whatever it is, you know, we'll be able to cover those different bases initially. And if you are someone who's able to get pre-approved right away, that's even better. You know, we'll go over your pre-approval.
Well, I'm not trying to start a fight between you two. But
What's going on?
But Dion, explain why the loan officer process is so important for those who want to start the journey of home ownership.
Well, I mean, it's important because you need to know where you stand at the end of the day.
Mhm.
You don't want to be one of those people, and there's a lot of people out there, unfortunately, on both sides, the real estate side, that allow the clients to do this, but there's also clients that always want to go out and try to look for a property before they have any idea what they qualify for. They think they know they qualify for. They swear they have a 700 credit score. Next thing you know, they got a 500 credit score. You know what I mean? And a lot of times they may not even be that because they don't handle their if there's something where you need to fix, we go over that together. You know, I'm sit down with you and teach you about how credit works first and foremost,
Right.
how your credit is set up, and then what the credit bureaus are looking for is where even if you don't buy now, you're constantly improving yourself in the future.
So if you check my credit, you're going to lower my credit score. I don't want that to happen.
Well, put it like this, I always tell people this. Our job in the mortgage industry is to get you the best finances possible. There's things that are put in place to where technically they say your score can jump like 1 or 2 points. I've never seen it happen. You know, I mean, our job is to help you get the best financing possible. You don't want the mortgage industry to be the ones who can actually put your score down. If it's 1 point, that means we can stop you from being able to do a program. So I've literally seen clients who ran their credit with other loan officers the same day, and the score doesn't drop. Like it's a mortgage industry credit report that puts you in a different bracket. It doesn't fall like it would something, a different industry or something along those lines. So I've never seen it drop, but technically we can't say it won't drop. Trust me, I've never seen it drop in 19 years. So mortgage industry credit report, you're gonna be fine. You might get alert if you have like Credit Karma or something like that, but I tell them, but that's fine. You can't do anything with that. You never went and bought a car or a house or anything with an app. I'm gonna say Credit Karma say my score is 700. They're gonna be like, yeah, okay, let me get your name, date of birth, and social, Good luck with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you have to go through the proper steps regardless. And it's just something that has to be done anyway. You know what I mean? If you really want to truly know where you stand, you have to have a mortgage industry credit report ran to know what steps you need to take from there.
So what would you guys, if you know this exact number or maybe a guesstimation on the percentage of people who buy homes get a loan to buy a home?
That's a good question.
I mean, percentage of people who get a loan to buy a home.
Right.
It depends upon where they live.
Yeah.
Well, let's say,
Depends upon where they live. I mean, I'll say I can only speak for California, but I would say,
let's talk about first-time homeowners.
yeah. Well,
Let's talk about them.
I would say first-time homeowners based upon income levels, right? In California, I would say a good 99, maybe 99% of them. And even if this is what I would say, even if you have the money to buy a home, don't buy that home with the money you have. Always use someone else's money. That's the smartest financial advice I can give anybody, right? So I mean, you're always gonna. I would say, and that pushes it up. I would say to 100%, unless it's something different, like commercial. Some people will buy it all cash, right?
Mhm.
But when you're buying a home to live in and you want to take advantage of the tax advantages that come with you having a mortgage, right? Yeah, you want to actually leverage someone's money. You don't want to. I would never advise a client to pay 100% cash. There's no such thing when you see 100% cash on a statement or like a bank statement. Well, not a bank statement, but what do you call a little approval letter, right? Or when you see it in the RPA. That there's somebody fronting the cash. There's always an interest attached to it, right?
Mhm.
Because smart investors would never use their cash or their money. It might be a hedge fund, it might be some money coming from an IRA, something like that. There's always an interest attached to it. So the smartest thing is actually to leverage you buying a home using someone else's money, which is the bank, all right, or lender. Now, and based upon that, it's kind of like Dion mentioned some interesting things. Because I mean, when we look at the loan officer and the realtor, it's always like people ask who's making the biggest sacrifice for the breakfast plate. Is it the hog or the chicken? You know what I'm saying? The bacon or the eggs? Yes. You know what I'm saying? But, who's giving you the most sacrament? I'm playing. That's different. That's different. So, but at the same time, too, when we look at what we do as realtors in terms of helping people buy, or real estate professionals, I would say, one of the things that I would say is that, yes, go to the lender first, right? I always send all my clients to the lender. Doesn't matter, right? Even if they're coming in with cash,
Y'all heard that.
right. Even if they come in with cash, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't know your financial situation. Because I always tell people it's like this. Everybody always comes and asks me, how much do I need to put down, or how much do I need to buy a home in California, right? And based upon the average income in California, it's just not feasible for the average person to actually come up with the cash unless they inherited that money.
So real
right?
quick, Clinton and Dion, why, if someone has $500,000 in cash
Mm-hmm.
to purchase a home, why would you say it's more important to get a loan
Mm-hmm.
or get financing to purchase the property instead of just using cash? Like, why is it not ideal to use your own cash?
Because it's the risk of it, right? So the risk of actually putting all your money, or it's like putting all your eggs in one basket, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember that cash you already put into an asset, right? So assets carry a measure of risk. So you got to match that risk with it, right? Just keep that in mind. Every asset you buy has a measure of risk with it, right? It's not a sure thing. Like for instance, say in 2009 when it crashed, and I'm not saying that the market's going to crash, but in 2009 when the market crashed, and everybody had cash, not only are your personal finances going to be affected, but your credit and your long-term credit is going to be damaged too, right? So you have no way of getting out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And just so let me give you a statistic right now in California. That might make a little bit more sense. Why I say that, right, is because right now credit card delinquencies are at a 12-year high, right?
What's
Credit card
delinquencies?
is at a 12-year high, and I'll tell you why that's important. And to say people are now, and to say repossessions on cars as at the highest it's ever been. Right? People are actually giving the cars back, right? They're like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, come take it. Come get it.
Quick.
You know what I'm saying?
You see that guy return the Subaru? You see that?
A Subaru.
He returned the Subaru back to the Subaru dealership, but he drove it through the dealership.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
I
saw that one. Yeah.
Check it out.
See, I mean, and it's trending like that in 2025. Now,
There were a bunch of people doing it.
now check this out. Check this out. So the same mortgage delinquencies are at an all-time low, right? 40% of homes in America are mortgage-free, the highest in history. 40% of homes in America are mortgage-free. That means all of them are not paying a mortgage. And among the 60% of mortgages, over half of them have an interest below 4%. Right? So what that's telling me is this. It's renters who are delinquent right now. Homeowners, they're good. Right? So one of the things that why I say it's always better to leverage is because what you're doing is spreading out your payments over a longer term.
Yeah.
Right? And because of something called the phenomenon called compound interest, your principal goes down, just keep in mind, you're paying the same, you're making the same, your income might increase. That means you have extra money to put aside for savings. You see, renters don't have that. Right? So that's why I always say leverage that money. You know what I'm saying? Leverage it. When you own a home, don't put all that money in one asset. Right? Because in a bad economy, it can shift where homeowners are now on the other, just like renters. So and why I say that, and why I'll say this too, it's important for us to understand this data, is because home equities household equities at an all-time high. So right now you're seeing homeowners are the ones who are propping up this economy right now. So if you're a renter and you're paying enough to make a mortgage, and you're thinking, oh, you want to look at the TV and be like, oh, the economy's going to crash, this and that. Let's keep in mind, if the economy crashes, homeowners are safe. It's not like it's going to be 2009.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get into a home. You need to start thinking about getting into a house, buying real estate, because that's what's going to help propel the economy. That's what's going to save. Because I mean, if the banks are not foreclosing and they can't find the foreclosures, they have to actually make money. So they're going to go hard on those delinquencies, which is the credit card delinquencies.
Mm.
All right. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, so basically that's kind of how I say always leverage other people's money. You know,
What would you say to that?
OPM.
OPM.
Repeat the question again.
I
like, let me hear it. What's your question? You said, what was the importance of using other people's money?
Well, if someone has the ability to buy a house cash,
Yeah.
why is it? And we're using an example of like a first-time homeowner. Let's just say they just come into a bunch of money.
I mean, I got you. I know. I remember now. So it's a lot of different reasons why you would necessarily not want to pay all cash. For one, you don't get the write-offs that you get for being a homeowner. So you get to write off interest. So if you're someone who has that
Right.
type of money, you probably make a lot of money.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're probably the type of person that will want as much write-off as you possibly can. And real estate is one of the biggest, ways that you can have substantial write-offs to help offset, make a substantial amount of money. So that in itself is a tax purpose why you want to do it. And also, I mean, you can potentially use it to buy other investments. I tell
Exactly.
people all the time, I see so many people come and they want to put $800,000 down on one house. I'm like, you could probably go buy a couple different properties. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let me show you how you can use it wisely instead of put all in this one house, especially if you make a lot of money and it's like you just putting it down just to put it down. There's some people that put it down because they just don't have enough income. They have to put this down to qualify at a certain amount. So they have to put a certain amount down regardless of whether they want to or not.
Mm-hmm.
But people who have a choice, a lot of people sometimes they have choices and they still just put it down. And I always try to open their minds up like, hey, instead of putting $800,000 on this, single family house, you ever thought about looking at a 4-unit house at 1.4 million where you can have,
Right.
you could go buy a 1.4 million house,
Right.
have a $600,000 loan amount, but you got 3 other people that's helping you pay the payment on the $600,000 house.
Mhm.
You're probably gonna be making money while owning a 1.4 unit, 1.4 unit property. Like, have you thought about doing something like that to get more doors under your belt to start building more generational wealth within your family? You know what I mean? So I always try to open people's eyes to that. Some people don't want to do that. They just want to have a house and that's too much. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to deal with all that. I ain't trying to become a property manager. I ain't trying to, I ain't trying to do all this extra stuff. I just really want to be someone who just have the simple, White House, picket fence, family, and that's it. I don't want to do nothing else. So that's fine. You know what I mean? But for the people who don't think like that, it's always good to at least try to open their minds to being able to do something else with their money to where they can make it go further. Teach people how to go further, how to build more wealth within their families and within the communities at the end of the day too. Because it's something that's helping the community.
Right.
The more wealth we have as a whole, the more we can start building with each other and building the communities up. So
Right.
Preach.
that's what we're doing.
Okay, so we talked about the people who have the cash
You already know.
to buy a house. Let's talk about the people who are well intended, have good jobs or good
Mhm.
quality jobs. Credit score is good, decent. Like they're doing the right things, but they just don't have the assets to put down a lot of money to purchase a home. What do you say to those? I feel like that's the majority of people that, especially here in San Diego, that's the majority of people.
A lot of different places. I just said,
Well, yeah, that's true.
yeah, go ahead.
But for those individuals who have the goal or dream of home ownership, they just don't have much access to assets to put down on a home.
Well, I mean, the easiest answer to that is there's all kind of different programs, one being like down payment assistance programs as well. So there's different levels of down payment assistance. You can even have down payment assistance programs. Somebody already owns the home, but you have first time home buyer down payment assistance program. That's for first time home buyers. So there's different levels of programs out there that can help you bridge the gap. You know what I mean? So there are special programs we might have to put any money down. We just had the Dream for All program for the last 2 years. It came out twice. And if you had that program, you qualify for it. You can buy a house with no money out of pocket.
That was crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Yeah.
right? But stuff like that is going to be here today, going tomorrow. So you have to be able to get approved for it. They did a lottery, so if you got picked, there you go. But there's other programs where, it may not cover everything,
Mhm.
Most
Mhm.
down payment assistance programs, they're going to cover at least a down payment, but then you have other options where you can get funds towards closing costs as well. So it could be depending on all kinds of different things. It could be your credit score, it could be the location you're buying in, the county you buy in, the street you buy, the
Mhm.
house, where the house is located at. Specifically, you literally put the address of the property, it'll tell you if you qualify for some
Right.
type of program or whatever. So there's so many different levels of how a person can actually be able to, get financing to help go towards the down payment closing costs. So even if you're someone who doesn't make a lot of money, you can get to the point where it might be down payment covered and $5,000-$10,000. Like here in San Diego, there's programs you can get 25% down payment and $10,000 above that
Mhm.
towards closing costs. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? So that puts a person in a position where they might not have to bring no more than 5-10K potentially out of their
Right.
pocket. You might even be able to get credits from the sellers or even a realtor or somebody.
Right.
Mhm.
I'll throw you on the bus.
Yeah.
A realtor might be willing to give you another 5-10K. So there's all kind of ways we can get
Right.
there.
Right.
I'm not saying clear one.
Right. Once we get that 2%.
Get out my
My
pocket.
bad.
But no, I'm just saying.
My money's not sure it's like yours. My money's not sure like yours, Dion.
But no, I'm just saying there's a lot of creative ways that a person can get in house. So what I tell people, do not assume anything. Do not tell yourself what you can't do.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different creative ways that you can get into a house. The best thing you can do is call. It's free. You have nothing to lose, but you have so much to gain. It can change your life. It's free to find out what you qualify for. It's free to get your credit ran and reviewed and taught how you can set yourself for success.
Mhm.
If you qualify for something, it's free for me to tell you how to do that. And it's definitely free
Right.
for me to take you out.
Well, I think the thing we're discussing, part of that is nothing to lose, so much to gain.
Yeah.
And I think we're dealing with people in their mindset, knowing what they want to have.
Right.
And then when they get the truth, they get discouraged.
Right.
So you do open houses, you both
Mhm.
do open houses,
Mm-hmm.
and you have someone come in and they see this nice home and it's like, man, I have a dream of wanting to buy this home. And then you kind of talk numbers with them. Let's say you're there, you talk numbers with them, and kind of find out they don't have the money to purchase that. How do you keep that person encouraged to still set the goal of buying a home, although it's not what they ideally want at the very beginning?
Right. I mean, what they say, there's two ways we create something in life, and it's two ways that starts one in our head and one in our actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the first thing I always look at is if I'm at an open house and somebody walks into an open house, most likely they already talked about it, they're already thinking about it, because right now they're doing the actions, which is to actually go start looking at homes. Now, if I meet somebody and they never looked at the home, never went to an open house, I have to try to get them out there now. Like I always tell everybody who comes into an open house, yes, you're doing the right thing. Even if you don't want to buy right now, this is the best way you can learn. You can ask questions. You can go in and you're talking to a realtor. You're talking to a mortgage agent on the spot. These are the things. If you have questions about home ownership, it doesn't mean that you have to buy the home. It's not, you're not walking into Nordstrom, right? As you're walking in, you're buying a home, right? So the first, so you gotta get the information. It's a lot of money you're going to be spending, and it's no return policy, right? So you gotta get the information because you're making one of the most expensive or the most biggest investments ever you might make in your life. So at the end of the day, yes, these are natural things. Now, what I always say is the come to Jesus moment comes after. Right, where they really start understanding the truth of it, right? And this is where you have to be coached. I mean, for me, I always look at people who are coachable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also have to be able to teach and build rapport at the same time, because at the end of the day, they might say, "Hey, I want this home," and I'm like, "Yeah, you can get it. Let's come up with a plan," as we said in the beginning, right? And that plan starts with we understanding. Number one, the basics,
Mm-hmm.
which is the 3 C's: credit, capacity, and collateral.
Right.
Without those 3 C's, we can't do anything. You have a pipe dream right now. And it's okay to dream, but you're wasting gas and time, right? So at the end of the day, I want you to get to the goal, invest in your time wisely, right, to get to that goal. So the first thing we got to do, while you're doing that with the loan officer or Dion, you can still go look. You can nobody stopping you. Nobody can stop you from going into the open house, right? You can still go look. You can still go look at homes, but just keep in mind you don't know what you can afford yet, right? So until we get to that first step, and there's so many different layers to home ownership. First, we get to that first step of figuring out. It's kind of like I tell everybody: you go to the doctor, you have a headache. They're not going to give you, okay, well, just take 2 aspirin and leave, right? No, they're going to diagnose you, look at everything, because that headache could be a concussion. It could be something different, though. Symptoms, right? So that's what the loan officer and the mortgage agent is going to do: is
You can't
diagnose,
self-diagnose.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, diagnose your whole financial situation, because they're going to ask you for a lot of information, right? Diagnose your financial situation, and then they're going to give you a prescription. Say, okay, well, you're going to write out that prescription, and that prescription is the golden ticket, the pre-approval letter. The pre-approval letter. Let's go. Now let's go solve your problem.
Preach,
Find out.
preacher.
Now we can talk to Cliff.
Yeah. You gonna do a sermon at the church.
Yeah. Jesus.
So, what about that individual? Let's say we're dealing with an individual who makes average income. You know, let's say under 6 figures, just under 6 figures, 85 grand or so, and they don't have much assets. Do they have the ability to become a homeowner here in San Diego?
Ooh.
Let me answer that. I was like, no.
I'll leave that to you, man. But I go based on stats. Right?
I go based on experience.
Right. Okay. My bad.
No, I always tell people, yes, you can absolutely purchase a home if you make $85,000. Like, the difference is, when I come across people, I tell people it's about your overall situation. Like, are you someone who makes $85,000 but you don't have a lot of debt? Now you are someone who could potentially qualify for a house in a certain range that's obtainable here in San Diego. But if you're someone who makes $85,000 and you got, Jaguar trucks and all the different you got like Lamborghini,
2023 Civics.
But no, if you're someone who has a substantial amount of debts, right?
Oh, my bad.
If you're someone who has a lot of different debts, right, or high monthly debts with high monthly payments attached to them, that's when it becomes a lot harder for you to become a homeowner where you make less than 6 figures. So I come across people all the time that don't make $100,000, but they're able to qualify because they're not out there going and living above their means. And so that's what it's about. But that's why we sit down with you, go over your credit first, so we can say, hey, this is where you're at. This is where you stand. Like, if you were to pay these debts off here, now you can qualify at this purchase price amount.
Right.
So we're going to sit down and teach you how to get there if you're not somewhere already. But then also we go back to, you don't have to go and buy $1 million house. You might have to go buy a condo somewhere, you know what I mean? That's a little bit cheaper. You build your way up as your income increases over time and things like that. As you build equity for the first house that you buy, then maybe you sell it and you upgrade because you put money down now on the next purchase. So a lot of different things like that. So it's levels to it. But you can become a homeowner. It's just depending on your personal situations, case by case.
And that's encouraging to hear, because right now with the gig economy, there's so many different ways you can get extra money to pay off debt. I mean, you have to put a plan together.
Right. You do. Absolutely do.
Be a little aggressive.
Especially in California. You gotta put a plan together. Why? Is because, and this is what I would say, the HUD statistics, right? They already have set aside, they already said that in order for someone, the average person to buy a home in California who's single, have to be making around $110,000. That's one person. With a family of 2 to 3, they have to be around $220,000. That's the average in California, right?
But mind you, we're talking about extremes like in San Francisco.
Right. So we're talking about the average. That's just
LA,
the average.
San Diego.
Right. The average. Right. Up and down. Right. But we're talking about San Diego now, right? So when we're talking about San Diego, just keep in mind the average home price here. The average home price in San Diego is up as of November is $890.
So I actually am glad you brought that up.
Right.
I have a question about that, especially for you, Clinton.
Right.
And we're saying we know people are probably watching all over the United States, but we're here in San Diego.
Right.
And if you live in a major city, this might be something you're dealing with too, is that if you live in an urban community, the prices of those homes might be higher than if you live in the outskirts somewhere.
Right.
So what do you say about those individuals who possibly have a better chance of affording a home
Right.
on the outskirts, maybe compared to living
Right.
someplace where it's more dense?
And that's what I was about to get to, is that, and because
should they move? Like, should they move?
should they move to what where it's more like more
Like,
affordable?
for instance, the perfect example here is when in Temecula, Marietta,
Right.
Menifee, compared to San Diego, it's
Right. You get more
45
for your money and
is it a 45-minute drive?
Right. 30-minute drive, like
Right.
yeah, big,
Marietta?
yeah,
from San
Temecula.
Diego to
Yeah, about 30 minutes, I'd say.
About an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about an hour.
okay.
It depends.
But
it depends.
there was a time,
Yeah.
and it's still to a certain extent now, but there was a time where there was a big difference in the house costs.
Yeah,
Right.
You know, so it's some and
catching up.
it's catching up, yeah.
Because people are
Now-
migrating.
now-
Bigger.
Now, what I'll say with this is that
But is it worth it? Should they
no, well,
consider?
well, I'll
doing
be
something
honest.
like
I'll say
that?
this: winning real estate is always worth it. It's never going to be something you're going to regret 5 years. As I said, right now, the statistics, it doesn't. We're looking at I'm not going to get granular with it, because right now the statistics show that all homeowners, no matter when they buy, where they bought, right now they're the ones who are actually benefited in this economy. So anywhere you buy real estate, it's a good place to buy, right?
Mhm.
So let's start there, right? So I would say this, all right? If you are qualified to buy real estate, just figure out, number one, how far, because the bank is not going to loan you money if your work is in LA and you're buying in Chula Vista. That's
Right.
one of the criteria. That's one of the conditions they're going to look at and
Right.
scrutinize. Number one, so it's not a real.
Like, how's that feasible?
Right. How's
Yeah.
that feasible? You know, or if you're buying in Arizona and you work in, unless it's a second property
Well,
on
I'm saying
investment
that
property.
could
No,
come
but you
with some
can do it
caveats.
as long as your job is remote 100%.
Right.
Work
Oh,
from
yeah,
home,
right.
then you can-
So
you can
all,
make that
but all
happen.
I'm trying to say is the bank is going to scrutinize those things, right?
Right.
It's not, they're not
Mhm.
going to just
Yeah.
loan you money they're not going to buy. So it's the same thing. We are going to look at that. We're going to sit down and look at that and say, hey, you qualify for this amount, and this is where this amount gives you what you're looking for. So if you're looking for a 4-bedroom home and this is how much you qualify for, this is where in these areas here, because we can break it down using RPR, right? We can break it down based upon the areas that you're in San Diego that this price range, right? If you want to actually, and then this is where you have to decide. If you want to purchase, right, are you going to be able to live in these areas here and still be able to function and do what you need to do? Or do you have to tweak it where you can actually get more money or increase your loan limit, right? Or the amount of loan you can qualify for. These are things, everything is not set in stone. It's flexible, right? In this business, it's very flexible. It's just your mindset now. That's where the biggest issue comes in, right? Is because everybody, when they're buying stuff, when it comes to spending money, they compare to others, right? Not themselves. They're not focusing on what is best for them, right? They're focusing on what is best for them that everybody else is doing, right? So I would say, number one, my goal is to get you in that space where you can focus, number one, on you and what is best for you and your family and your future.
You guys want to answer those questions?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. T, for asking those questions. So we have some questions here in the chat that we're going to answer.
So I see what you said. I can answer the question about what are some of the biggest fears, but also like a house that needs to be upgraded. So I'll kind of jump to that one first. So there are actually programs called renovation loans that you can utilize when buying a house. And so you actually may want to be someone who looks for those type of properties. You might be able to get a house much cheaper than you would buying it, in great pristine, the condition of the property, right? So there's programs where you can actually buy a house, build it up. You can break it all the way down to the foundation. You can't touch the foundation, but you can break it all the way down the foundation and bring it up and make it your dream home. You could even add units potentially, depending on situation. So something like that shouldn't be a fear. You want to lean into that. So if you're in a neighborhood where you see a lot of distressed properties, you might want to figure out who owns it and like, hey, let me see what I can do. I might come up. It might be a come up for them. You know what I mean? So, and then you could do it for VA loans as well, 100% financing. So you could do it with the VA loans. Then you could do it with the FHA. Still, you don't have to put 3.5% down. Conventional could be a little 3 to 5% down as well too. So it's not like you have to put a substantial amount of money down to take advantage of these programs. And the good thing about it is the value of the property will be based off the after repair value of the property. So you can buy a house for 200,000, and if you can build it up, it might be worth 500-600K after you buy it. And you can potentially turn it to a rental property where you can start getting renters that can come in and help subsidize the payments for you on a monthly basis. So these are a type of creative ways. That's
So
why I
the
teach
loan
people
program,
how to help themselves become homeowners. Go ahead.
the loan program you're talking about for the upgrades purchases the property
Mhm.
and gives you money to fix the property.
Right.
So by the time you move in, you're not moving into a dilapidated. I didn't even say that right, but y'all
A fixer upper.
I'm trying to be serious here.
A fixer upper. We don't use those
We know what
words.
you mean. Don't
We
worry.
don't use those words.
Thank you, man. Gotta go back.
Right. I'll answer the question that says, what are the new homeowners' biggest fears? And I'll say is number one, the biggest fear is whether they're going to be able to afford it. Right. That's the biggest fear, hands down. And that's where I always tell every homeowner is like this. When you're gearing up to buy a home, you're going to start building new habits, because number one, you're going to start saving, you're going to start watching your money, you're going to start actually trying to see how, looking at every penny. That doesn't change when you become a homeowner. It just continues, because now, and then they invested, because your mindset shifts. So it's kind of like this. When most homeowners who I always tell them, when I ask most of my homeowners, like, what was the biggest thing that you encountered while trying to? They say it's not that I didn't believe that I can become a homeowner. I didn't believe that I deserve to be one. Right?
Mm.
It's because number one, you're moving your mindset from being a renter to being a homeowner, right? And now it's not you're not understand. You're not accustomed paying for a place to live.
Mhm.
Now you're thinking about, oh, what if the roof caves in? It's my responsibility. What if this happens? It's my responsibility.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Now everything, the response, taxes, because the biggest, I always encounter this, when that CD comes, and you encounter it too. When that CD comes, they always have the most questions of, okay, well, because they're thinking, okay, well, they were looking at PITI, not the HOA, or they were looking at they didn't know the taxes. Oh, so all these things they're going to have to now understand. But I always put it like this: you need a place to live. There's only two options you get. Just keep in mind, homeownership is a necessity, just like food, clothing, and shelter, right? So if you're going to pay for a place to live, why not just leverage it? Because you're gaining nothing, and you're not creating a better future for you or your family by renting, right? Why not just leverage homeownership, right? And I mean, you might have to make a sacrifice in the beginning, but it's the only payment that starts going down, right? And I keep on saying this. This is great data that I just went over earlier. Right now, 60%. There's 40% of homes that are mortgage free. That means they pay down their mortgage, right? Then you have 60% of those homes. Half of them are under 4%. So that means some people are paying less for, say, a 3,000 to 2,500 or 3,000 square foot home with a bigger, nice yard right now than some people are paying for a 2-bedroom condo, a 2-bedroom apartment right now. And that's 40% of people, right? So I mean, homeowners. So this is where you gotta shift your mind from short term to long term.
I remember a couple of years ago, I was doing a open house, and the person lived across the street from the open house was someone I knew. I worked with them, and we were talking, and it was like, "Oh man, this house is something I can't believe it cost this much to buy this house." Because when we bought our house, it cost this much, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, how are we going to do this?" And then now we look back and we're like, "Man, we're so glad we did it."
Right.
Because if we purchase the same property now,
right,
we might be able to still afford it, but it's taking so much more of a chunk of our money,
Right.
which, if you think about it, affects other decisions you make in your life. Vacations, having more health, maybe even having more kids. You may say, we can't even afford to have another kid.
We can't afford the ones we got.
Yeah.
But so, and I'll even add to this, man. Like,
But what I'm saying is,
yeah,
is if you make the decision now
right,
to purchase, you know one thing that's happened for sure in this country and in this world is that values are going to always go up in everything over time. Whether you live in an area where it goes slowly or it goes quickly,
right,
it's always going to do it. And there may be times where it dips a little bit.
right,
It's always going to go back up.
right.
Like,
Right.
you know, the milk that we buy today, those how much is milk? Like $4 or something
Right.
like that. You know,
It used to be 99 cents.
it used to be 99 cents.
Yes,
And it- and
$2.
It is $2 in Houston. I was like,
Right.
it was $2. I was
Right.
like, man,
And the thing about it is this:
Moving out there.
the thing about it is this: it's like they call it. It's called in the stock market. It's called dollar cost averaging.
Mhm.
Where you invest in stocks every month, where the stock goes up or down. But long-term wise, in the longer run, you invest in the stock market that's increasing because you gain the average of that increase over time,
Mhm.
right? Return back to you, right? So you now work in the stock market, and that's what people in the short term. You're now working the volatility of the stock market
Right.
in the short term. You're working the exponential
Play the
increase in
long
the
game.
long game, right? So that's the same. It's an asset. You invest, right? It's like paying a mortgage. It's the same as kind of like dollar cost averaging, right? But then you have a place to live. That's one of the good things. It's going to give you a return on your investment in the long run, right? Because you're paying your principal down, and also the value of it increases, right? You're going to get your return on your investment in the long run. That's why, for me, it's like a lot of people need to who are I would see under fear, who have a little bit of a fear of that, is just that financial literacy is very important, right? That's where once you buy a home, you start getting into that area of financial literacy, because number one, you might not understand how an asset works, right? And you might go according to everything that's in the news around you, right?
Mhm.
But once you understand how that works and you understand how homeownership works, it opens your mind up to now at investing, right?
Yeah.
Real estate, buying other assets, securing a better future, the power of 4% when you're ready to retire, right? So you're looking at all those things, you're building the nest egg, all those things. You're preparing for all those things while you're paying for a place to live, right? But you don't have to start off with a dream home. Everybody wants what they see on TV, right?
What is that?
Yeah, cribs, you know what I'm saying? That TV cribs, you know what I'm saying? Everybody wants that extra room with the movie theater and all that stuff, But what I always say is this: once you start understanding that it's an investment, you can start off small. All right, you don't have to start off with a big mansion and by increments, because you're playing the long game, and that's where the plan comes in, right? Start small. You can buy, as you were saying. We can move into a place or buy a condo, right? Even a fixer-upper condo, right? Because those things are attached to the real estate market, so it is going to increase anyway, right? So now you can leverage that 4 or 5 years, because the average person in San Diego stays in their home the average of 5 to 8 years, right? So the average person levels up or moves out of their home every 5 to 8 years.
I want to kind of touch on some of the different fears from a different perspective. So honestly, some of the biggest fears that homeowners have is the first step, picking up the phone.
Right.
You'd be surprised at how terrifying that is,
right,
for somebody to pick up the phone, come meet you in person, or wherever the case may be. Right. So that's one of the biggest fears that a lot of people in our community have, is just taking the first step, because they have all these different ideals of how they're never going to be able to qualify. The other fears that go along with not the reason why they don't pick up the phone is like, oh, my credit is not that good or whatever. There's programs. What do you say? There's a program for that. I don't have down payment. I got to have 20% down. It's a program for that.
There's a program there for that.
I have student loans. It's a program for that. You know what I mean? There's all kind of different things or I write off all my income. It's a program for that. Like, do not tell yourself what you can't do. Let me be the one to tell you what you can
Right.
do. And I'm never gonna tell you what you can't do. I'm gonna say we can't do it today, but here's what we can do to do it tomorrow. You know what I mean? So that's how I work with people. It's not what you can't do, what we can't do today. But guess what? Tomorrow is what we're gonna do.
Right.
I got you.
So it's tomorrow.
So those are like some of the biggest fears that we have. Then another one, which is crazy one, is the pride situation. Well, I don't want people in my business. They're
Right.
They're gonna be talking about me. We don't care about your business. We've been doing it for a long
There's
time.
too many people
right.
that we have to balance before we care about. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, so
we really not about to be telling
we don't
you
get in the
personal
minutia.
business. We don't get anything by learning about what you got going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're not gonna be looking through your bank statements.
Right.
We'll comb over and make sure stuff we need for loan
Right.
purposes are, there's nothing there. But now I promise we're not gonna be sitting here trying to study what you spend money on
Right.
every day. I've never done that in 19 years.
We want to see you win.
Exactly.
That's the goal, is
You know
to
what I
see
mean?
you
So-
win.
So I
Right.
tell people, put your pride to the side. The bigger picture is you building wealth for you and your family, trying to build a legacy.
Right.
That should be what you care more about, rather than somebody that. And unfortunately, in our community, it's people that look like us. They don't want people that look
Sure.
like them knowing their business, but they'll let anybody else run their credit. They go to the bank. They quick to get the information up, but if they talk to one of us, all of a sudden they a little leery and they're like,
Or they
You know what I
go for
mean?
Thanksgiving or Christmas and they're like, "Oh, you going to buy a house? Really?"
Exactly, right? So-
So yeah. I mean,
Uncle so and so says, "Well, right now it's not a good time to buy."
Right. Back in my day, in
Yeah.
2009, when it crashed, which was not that far ago, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait for the economy to get
rates
there,
gonna go
right?
down and the values is gonna drop, and then you're gonna be able to buy. Like, okay,
So you shouldn't
been
buy
sitting
it
there
right
for
now.
years waiting for these things to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, good information, the right information. Now, and then the next thing I always tell everybody is this, man. We are not going to fight we're here to fight for your goals and dreams, not your limitations. Right. So if you're going to fight for your limitations, you might get a different audience. Right. We're not here to fight because I would listen to you. Right. But at the end of the day, we got to switch it up.
Yeah, they
You know what I'm
hate
saying?
on themselves.
Right. You know what I'm saying? You're hustling backwards, as they say. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like we got to get you in that space where you understand that everything is a long-term goal. There's no fast money. There's no such thing as fast money.
Right.
Get that out of your head. Everything is slow. It's a long-term. The safest money is the slowest money. Right. So once we get into that mindset, we understand.
Preaching today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, straight out of
Got
the
the scarf on?
Share
I got the
scarf, man.
Share out of the Book of Clinton. The Book of Clinton right
The
here.
Book of Clinton.
Hey, 2025, baby. 2025.
Lord,
2025.
yeah.
2025,
Become a
man.
homeowner. All you
Now-
gotta do is
But-
believe in yourself.
Yeah, here you
Believe
go.
in yourself.
There you go. The
Believe in
show
yourself.
is going a different direction now. All right, so wheel and come again, as they say. So, so what I'm trying to say is this: is that I mean, we've been in this business for a while, right? Where I've come to understand that if you have a desire to buy a home, you can. That's all it takes. If you have a desire and you want to buy a home, you can. It's just making the sacrifices and mindset. If you want to buy real estate, you can.
And what I tell people is, I wrote the goal to become a homeowner at 22,
Right.
and at the time I wrote it, I didn't even have a car or a job.
Right.
And my goal was to purchase a home within 3 years, and I bought it within 2.
Nice.
And I was more concerned about the dream than how I was going to do it. The how came.
Right.
The what was more important.
Right.
So the how will always come. So if you set the goal,
Right.
figuring out how to get there, and you got to think about it. Yeah, it may be a little hard, but so many people purchase homes. It's not so out of this world that it's not possible.
Yeah. Well, people, just keep in mind, people purchase real estate to give you home.
Every day.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
to give you a place to stay. So, I mean, once it's kind of like, as I said, if you're not familiar with something, it's going to be scary. Right. Once you eliminate fear out of anything, right, that's where you get your freedom comes from. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, yeah. He's like, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just This is my passion here. This is what I do. This is what I do.
I love it.
This is what I do. I speak to people all day long. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'll be sweating. I'll be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm in a church. Yes. Brought you to Jesus. No, but at the same time, too, it's kind of like, I would say, I want you to limit that fear of the unknown, because a lot of people are not familiar. Some people are just not familiar, right? With what it takes and how it is. And when they get into that space, and there's fear, the emotions take over. So they get angry, or they get kind of like depressed, right?
We got 30 seconds, 29 seconds to close out the show. So parting words before we leave.
Like we were just saying, fear is definitely one of the biggest reasons why people with our communities, all communities for that matter, don't become homeowners. Don't be afraid to take that first step, which is calling, meeting someone in person, whatever your comfort level is. See what you can qualify for. It's free. If somebody charges you, go somewhere else. You know, it's free for somebody to sit down with you and go over your credit, to what you qualify for, look at your income, tell you where you stand, and put you on a fast track to homeownership.
There you go. There you have it.
Then
All right. We heard the good word from Reverend Clinton James and Deacon Westbrook over here.
And brother William.
I'm just a servant for the Lord.
Brother William.
We'll see you guys same time in 2 weeks on the 21st of January. See you guys same time, same place. Until then, peace. And if you want to buy a home, reach out to Dion, reach out to Clinton. They got you guys covered. All right. Take care. See you then. Peace.
Peace.
And so just cut you guys off on the app, and then we are closing out. Deuces.
Deuces. Reverend Clinton.
Is there preaching?
We still live on
2025.
social media.
Yeah, go ahead,
I'll let
Sarah.
you know when we're live. Y'all watch it. We still live on social media now. Watch it.
I'm just speaking the truth.
Is that the God side or the devil side?
We gotta get out of here today.
Y'all tripping. Wait.